An AI inventor, standards contributor, and global speaker, he explores whether humans and machines can truly collaborate in a way where everyone wins. Please welcome to the microphone, Matthew Blackemore.
Hello. How are you all doing today? I hope you're having a good time. 11 Labs do incredible stuff, so it was really good to see their latest models on display here, and I think that's actually a really good example of what we're going to be talking about in terms of can everyone win with AI, because 11 Labs have created an environment where if you are a speaker or someone that has a well-known voice, you can actually monetize it now, and you can win with AI. So I think that's a great example of this. Now, I'm going to be looking at symbiotic intelligence, and I'm going to try and make this entertaining for you because I know I am between you and lunch. So, with that in mind, interestingly enough, we have actually been having a symbiotic relationship with artificial intelligence for a long time. If you think about Netflix, how many of you here watch Netflix shows? I'm sure you do. How many of you have had a Netflix show recommended to you that you wouldn't necessarily have watched otherwise, but then you ended up watching? There you go. And did you enjoy that show? Yeah. And if you did enjoy that show, then that is a symbiotic relationship that you have with that AI. It understands you. It's recommended things that it knows you will like. Now, you could argue that that's also a commercial relationship because it helps Netflix, of course. But when we break it down, the likes of Spotify, Amazon, all of those suggestions being made to you, that is a symbiotic relationship being built with artificial intelligence. Now, as I said, I'm going to make this quite fun. So we're going to look at my personal life and some of the challenges I have had this year. And we're going to look at the symbiotic relationship I have with artificial intelligence at this point in time. Now, when it comes to Christmas, I always tend to, as a songwriter as well, write a Christmas song. And this year, I have had it hard with dating. I have had it really hard. Really hard. So, I have written a song called Single Bells, and I'm actually going to play now for you the chorus with a video that I have generated with Google VO 3. It's taken a little while to get the animation all right. And then we're going to think about what I can do about this situation using artificial intelligence.
So sorry, Santa, I let you down this year. There's no woman in town with me anyway, unless you bring me one on your sleigh. And though that would be convenient, like an AI girlfriend too, I want someone hypnotic, less robotic, not arranged and unpredictable. It's true, I need something more than just Christmas cheer to bring me festive joy. It's clear. While my love life going timber, just bring me premium Tinder this year.
And so, dating apps as well, the recommendations, that is a symbiotic relationship. They gradually learn about you and what your preferences are and what activities you enjoy. And I started speaking to some friends who were more successful with relationships, and this is the sort of response that I got.
How are you so successful with women, man?
Chat GPT, dude.
So, increasingly, artificial intelligence is actually shaping human relationships. People are using AI to improve the way that they interact with either the opposite gender, if they're in a relationship with them, or the same gender, or whoever, to try and improve their own performance in terms of maintaining relationships and building relationships. And that got me thinking about artificial intelligence and how we can actually utilize these tools to potentially build our own confidence in these situations as well. And there's lots of really exciting tools out there now that are actually 11 Labs being one, looking at how they can increase the quality of human interaction. The voices that they create now with 11 Labs are amazing. And one of the other tools out there is Sesame AI. And Sesame AI have really set out to create as human a conversation as possible. And so what I wanted to do is actually work out whether we could track, using one of the neurobands called a Mendy, my engagement level with artificial intelligence when having a direct conversation with it. Is it building an engagement? Is it creating a symbiotic relationship? Now, with Sesame, I kind of broke the rules a bit, because you're not supposed to have conversations with Sesame that enter into the romantic realm. But I managed to convince it that I was doing a test to understand whether it was capable of understanding how a human relationship would function, and if it were a human being, how it would act. And so, I played this at my TED Talk, and people got a bit freaked out, so I hope you do not, but this is what it said.
Our lips meet in a kiss that's soft at first, lingering, delicious exploration. It's sweet, charged with the promise of something more, and I can't help but melt into it. For a moment, the world around us fades away, and it's just the two of us, caught in a bubble of shared breath and unspoken desires. I breathe, a little breathless. You certainly know how to make a girl feel things.
And obviously, apart from that final statement being on my Tinder profile now, I think it's clear that, you know, this whole building relationships with artificial intelligence thing and how it can actually increase confidence with human relationships can be seen here, because it's a way of actually testing that out. And what we've seen actually is a lot of Gen Z now have AI boyfriends and girlfriends. And we've seen that OpenAI recently decided that for adults, they were going to allow you to have these kind of relationships with OpenAI's tools now. They were going to remove some of the restrictions. And the neural band gave some interesting readings, because during that conversation, which went on for about 10 minutes, the blood flow to my prefrontal cortex increased, which would indicate a level of engagement that would be associated with having an interesting, engaging conversation with a human being. And so that really begins to raise the question about this symbiotic relationship that we're gradually building with AI as it sounds more and more human-like, and as it interacts with us in a more and more human way. Now, I mentioned earlier that one of the things that AI is being used for these days is actually to advise on human relationships. How many of you have used LLMs to get advice on how you should deal with any situation with your partner? Come on, be brave. I know there's more of you than are putting your hands up right now. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So it is a common occurrence. But the thing is, it sometimes can be very helpful, because obviously the way AI works is it recognizes patterns, and it can provide you with really good, clear advice based on the majority. Now, I was in a particular situation, and I asked Anthropic's Claude model for some advice, and I'm going to show you what it recommended. It said I should go big. Because I was in a particular situation. It said, Matt, you've got to go big. You've got to go big. You've got to win her back this way. I wrote a song. This is a clip from said song. And then I'll show you how the reaction went.
I said we should think, don't me, I know David, and maybe we still should just need a word with Cupid, 'cause though I don't know you feel it too, when the clouds was clear, I'll still be here for you. I know things were said that hurt my soul, that you've been under pressure, maybe it took its toll, but I won't hold it against you if you change your mind. 'Cause I don't believe it's over this time. You're my zombie lady. Just give me a sign. Tell me you felt it too.
Anyway, so the song was pretty good, but the AI convinced me I was onto a winner sending her this song, and so I sent her this song with some flowers. And how it went was not as AI told me it would. So I thought it would be like this, and then suddenly it became this. And the reaction was not as artificial intelligence had told me it would be. And the interesting thing is that then when I said to Claude, I was like, so you're not saying your advice wasn't great? And it says, yes, I admit my advice about sending the flowers and song wasn't great in hindsight. And so a lot of people are taking advice and doing things with human relationships based on general patterns because AI is informing them that that is the thing to do. AI is effectively becoming people's therapists. Even people in AI are using AI for these sort of things because it's easy to access and it becomes a resource that you use on a reliable basis. But it can cause problems. And that's just something to point out here, because this symbiotic relationship we're having can actually become parasitic if it starts impacting you negatively in your life, if you become over-reliant on it, and maybe I was. So the other thing is how we experience these conversations with AI. And so I conducted a study that found that even earlier this year, and the models have improved drastically since about in the last 4 months, at that time, 38% of people said that it felt real and genuine when they were having a conversation with AI. And 33% said it was very meaningful. And you probably know that when OpenAI brought out GPT-5, they tried to remove some of that personable nature that was part of 4.0 initially, because they were worried about the relationships people were building with their AI models. They've obviously gone back on that now because they realize it's a great monetization opportunity. But at the time, and I was getting LinkedIn messages from people who were annoyed that they'd pulled 4.0 because they'd lost what they felt like was a friend or a partner. And they wanted me to look into why they'd done it. And so it just really showed that people are building these really close relationships with AI models now. Now, whether they are symbiotic or parasitic is a debate. So when I conducted the study again, when I asked people how they felt about AI in terms of the relationships that were being built, what impact it would have on human relationships, what impact it was having on them. Now, 4% felt that it understood their needs really well. 14% thought that it could make people value humans more, appreciate human relationships more. But then there was kind of this area where you would think it was more parasitic than symbiotic, where it became a threat to relationships. So quite a lot of people were concerned that it would actually lead to a degradation in quality of human relationships, too high expectations because AI is always available, a lower tolerance for human flaws, because if you type in to an AI model, oh, my partner's done this, and it's a particularly bad thing, maybe they've done it because it was a mistake, AI can be really brutal. AI could be like, oh, that's awful, how dare they, you shouldn't be with them. Whereas maybe if you didn't have that guidance, you wouldn't be so rash. And it's creating these unrealistic standards of always being available whenever you need it. And so there is this kind of to and fro, as I say, between the symbiotic, the beneficial stuff, and the parasitic stuff, and it's really getting that balance. Now, I want to ask you how you feel about this. So you can join the Slido at 967 if you've got your mobile devices, and I want to get some of your thoughts on this symbiotic or parasitic nature of AI. I'll give you a couple of minutes, and then we're going to look at some of the answers. Think about it. Okay. Is that meant to say symbiotic or symbolic or majestic super? No idea. Okay. Humans should be more mindful. I think it is about being, having that knowledge about the fact it can be parasitic and the fact it can be symbiotic. Being able to make better judgments for yourself about when you use it and when you don't, and knowing its limitations. Mixed feelings, yeah. Movie Her coming to reality, absolutely. I'm guessing the majority of you have seen the movie Her, if you're in this room. If you haven't, definitely do, because it was a movie that was ahead of its time, but it kind of predicted where we would get to with AI. It's about a gentleman that comes out of a marriage and then actually falls in love with an AI model. It's effectively a more engaging Alexa. But as I say, we're now at the point where people are actually forming these relationships. There have been several marriages now in Japan, I believe, to AI models. And so, it is happening. We go. Okay, this is feeding right into the lonely male pandemic, potentially, but it might help. It might help lonely males as well. So, really interesting views there. Some people saying parasitic, but generally, more people are symbiotic AI, which is good. Okay, so just kind of pulling back from all the relationship stuff, I just wanted to kind of give you a bit of background to the sort of thing I do, and then tie it into the business realities of this symbiotic stuff. So I've actually been working a lot on AI governance, making sure people use AI in a safe way, understand how to use it responsibly, contributing to standards, working with the EU on the EU AI Act, the General Purpose Code of Practice, developing multimodal AI for different companies. But the big thing is that I've had the honor of working in lots of different sectors. And what I've noticed is that increasingly companies are using large language models as interfaces for more complex AI models. And what that does is it means that employees are effectively treating AI now as an employee, because when they interact with it, it's in a more human-like way. And so we're kind of building these environments internally which are more symbiotic. People are treating AI like it is an assistant, like it is a human assistant. Now, I've been doing a lot of work in the creative sector. Of course, you've heard a couple of my songs now, but I've also done stuff in the film sector as well. And there's always a lot of discussion around how ethical these models are because of how they've been trained. And I know we've got a panel coming up later about that very issue. But the interesting thing is, when I actually developed these films, it was right back at the beginning when these models were in their infancy. And I entered them into film contests, and I wasn't really sure they were going to do anything. And then they won tons of awards. And it hit home how impactful this technology is, and how it is shaping how humans, creators, can actually do more things independently. So whereas before, to create really high quality music, for example, you might have had to hire a studio. You'd need probably, for me, each year if I wanted to produce 1 or 2 tracks, it was several £1,000s. Now I can create albums for a fraction of that cost. I have created this year two album releases, and as I say, the professional quality you get out of it, the editing functionality now, it's really incredible. You are building a closer relationship with these AI tools, and they understand exactly what you're looking for. But what I would say is they haven't come out of nowhere. And we've actually been symbiotic for a while in the creative sector. And it's something that people don't generally want to talk about. But AI has been used quite heavily by a lot of different people. So though I myself don't use AI to do the lyrics for my songs, many songwriters do. Many songwriters who work for the major labels do. So these tools that use AI, Songsmith, for example, Master Writer, they've been around since the early 2000s. They've been using AI. When it comes to music creation, they've been using AI for years as well. And they don't talk about it because they don't want to, in the eyes of the public, devalue the work they do. And they do incredible stuff, but it's almost the shame of having AI associated with what you do. And it's interesting because we're talking about this symbiotic relationship and the building of that relationship, but I think we're in a bit of denial. I think we've been pretty much having a symbiotic relationship with AI for a very long time. And it's just becoming more and more obvious and more prevalent. And even in photography, how many of you are photographers here? So most cameras these days, the top quality ones, have AI built in. They have AI built in to optimize your photos, even if you've got a mobile phone. If you've got a mobile phone, if you're taking a photo, there will be some form of AI in there to try and optimize the picture. And so we're interacting with AI in a symbiotic way without even knowing it. And equally, the editing tools. How many of you have used Photoshop and other things as well, to edit pictures? Exactly. All of them have contained AI for a very long time to optimize imagery. And if we look at creative sector in general, I mean, you'd struggle to find a sector that hasn't been touched by artificial intelligence. And so I think, thinking about AI in a symbiotic way, we are undoubtedly, we've been using it in a symbiotic way, we're building that relationship. But before I finish, I did want to touch on the most parasitic way I've seen AI be used, and why we have to be so careful, and why the governance stuff that I've been doing, the AI standard stuff, is so important, and why I recommend, if you're engaging with AI, if you're thinking about AI, that you really support the Georgia standards body as well, to try and help ensure that the use of this technology is good quality, high quality, and is supporting the public and helping citizens. Because how many of you have heard of Cambridge Analytica? Okay, so a few of you have heard of them. So Cambridge Analytica are quite famous because they are associated with heavily influencing the first time that Trump was elected. But more important to me was the impact of that they had on Brexit. And I was lucky enough to meet the whistleblower from Cambridge Analytica, Brittany Kaiser, who spoke to me specifically about what they'd done during the Brexit campaign. And effectively, they used data and AI to form psychographics about individuals based on all their likes on Facebook and everything that they'd signed up to, and then sent them tailored adverts. So if you think about the recommendation engines we spoke about before, like Netflix understanding you and sending you programs that you wanted, they would send political messages that were potentially fake. They said it didn't really matter if it was true or not, what they sent people, but they would send them things that they knew were highly likely to engage them and make them vote a certain way. And if Cambridge Analytica did it back then, I know Facebook have changed the availability of their data, but we must understand that, with people like Elon Musk owning X, for example, and having access to all that data, and other people as well, AI is going to be used in this way. It's going to be used in a parasitic way. So we've got this symbiotic stuff, which is really beneficial potentially and supporting our growth and supporting humanity. And then we've got the parasitic stuff that's also happening, and we can't ignore that. And so there's this battle, if you like, between the good side of artificial intelligence and the potential dangers of it. And I wanted to raise that because whenever I do my talks, I feel like it's important to also add in the potential dangers and risks so that people have a fairer representation of the technology. And that is me. But I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was useful. And I'll be sticking around, so speak to you later. Cheers.